now. And for this evening, yeah, Coach D, we're gonna have it's just gonna be like like a free flow of our discussion.
Sure,
That's okay with you?
that's
Okay,
fine.
perfect. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let me stop the share real quick. Okay, so we are recording. We are live on Facebook right now. Good evening, everyone. We are recording this session, and of course, it's on Facebook Live as well. My name is Chris, and then we have Coach D here with us, and we are in session 4 of our leadership series. We call it the 5 sessions. In this series of webinar on leadership, and actually we break it down. Coach D handles 1, 3, and 5. So today is number 4, and then I handle 2 and 4. Um, so we're going to go ahead and get started right now, Coach D.
Okay.
And, tonight we're going to be talking about, obviously in the whole series, we talk about leadership. We talk
Yeah.
about leadership, right?
Yep.
So the interesting thing that I was thinking of when we put this together is that I wanted to share. What if your job um, it's like you're not the boss in your job. You're not a
Hmm.
team leader. You're not a supervisor. So tonight's topic, I thought it would be interesting to share some thoughts on that. Is leadership just for leaders?
Okay.
And so how can you lead in business when you're not a leader, right?
Mm.
So leadership is very interesting. For me, Coach D, for me, yeah, I believe we're all leaders. It's just two categories, whether we're good or not so good.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep. Yep.
so the difference is, we should ask ourselves, or I ask myself some questions. The first question I ask myself is, am I a good leader, or are we good leaders? And then so if we break it down just a little bit, uh, we can ask something like, okay, let's say you are a leader, you are the boss, you have the position and the authority. Do people follow you willingly?
Hmm.
You
All
know,
right.
and then as a leader, we have we lead down and we lead up, right?
All
So
right.
when we talk about leading up, of course, the guys in your team that you're in charge of, um, they gotta follow you. But the question is, do they follow you willingly? But a real test, right, is, do your superiors trust you,
Yes.
right?
Yep. Yep.
And that'd be an indication of a decent leader, right?
Hmm.
So I guess the bottom line is, leading is something that um, we all should know how to do. But as a true leader, you want to ask yourself this question also:
Hmm.
Do you command respect of your team,
Okay. Right.
or do they fear you just because of the authority that's given to you, right?
Right.
So, like I said, there's two scenarios. We have a good leader, and I'm not going to say bad leader or lousy leader. I'm going to say a not so good, because we all have some kind of leadership traits in us.
Right.
And for tonight's discussion, I guess the real question is, can you be a leader when you're not the boss, or at least not the boss, or at least a boss in the company? Because any company, you have the boss, and of
Hmm.
course the boss, they're accountable to whoever else is above them, whether it's board of directors, chairman, whatever the case is. In any entity or infrastructure, you have a hierarchy, right?
Hmm.
And then if you're a boss, what if you lead a team of 3 people or 10 people or a department, whatever the question is, right? So
Right.
the you know tonight's discussion is, can you be a leader when you're not the boss or a boss?
Hmm.
So for me, leadership is not only simply a job, it's a trait or a characteristic, and it's something that we do. It's something that we have. We can lead upwards. We can lead the people that are, more senior than
Hmm.
us. We can lead downwards, and we can lead ourselves. And I think the leading ourselves part is, leading ourselves and how we deal with our coworkers and colleagues, whether it's on the same level or a couple levels below, or how we deal with our superiors, immediate superior, or several levels up.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll talk about leading up and leading yourself in this session, right?
Okay.
So, like I said, leadership is something that you do, something that we do, something that we are. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like, hey, you're going to get promoted and then you're the manager, you're the supervisor, and then all of a sudden you get bestowed with leadership qualities, right?
Right, for sure.
Um, yeah. So we must have it in us, and it's not just a job or a title. It has to be. It. I mean, for me, it has to be more than that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can be in a team where everyone is at the same level as you, uh, and maybe you all have a boss, but you can show leadership qualities. Okay, you
Sure.
can be in a team of one, just yourself. Okay, and a lot of us, in the last 10 months, plus minus in the last 10 months, uh, a lot of people are you know uh, getting side jobs, starting online businesses, starting their own businesses. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
starting your own business, you are the boss, but you're also the cleaner, the cook, and the chief bottle
That's
washer,
right. That's
right?
right.
I mean, that phrase was thrown around a lot, when I was in the States. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
the jack of all trades, the guy that does everything.
Right.
And you know, being yourself, I'm sorry, being even by yourself, you can still be a leader. You can be a leader of yourself. Okay. For me, even though I have a team of people, in different areas, I still have to lead myself because no one. I know this sounds bad. It's like I'm not really accountable to anyone,
Right.
but maybe that's the wrong thing to say because we're all accountable to somebody, right? But in this entity, I don't report, to a boss. Okay,
Right.
I am the boss. I report to myself, and damn, I'm hard on myself sometimes. Okay, it's
Okay.
like I set the schedule. Let's say for myself, the things I have to do on a daily basis. I set the schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and I say I got to wake up at this time, and then I wake up this time. What am I going to do? And then I'm going to make my cold calls from, for example, 9:30 to 11. 1.5 to 2 hours a day. Then I got to do my follow-ups,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really easy. Having run my business, 22 years, is really to just sit back in the big leather chair and say, you do this and you do that,
In that corner
um,
office, right?
in the corner office, at the penthouse, right?
Right.
So, we even though you're by yourself, you still have to be a leader, right? So, and leadership is not only leading. You see, when I look at my team, yeah, I have supervisors and I have managers. At the largest point that I had at my HQ office in the U.S., 45 team members.
Mm.
So, the admin department, finance, and the coaching department, the sales department, the telemarketing department. Each one had their own manager
Right.
and or supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
But I also look for leadership in the individuals on my team,
Right.
even though they're not given a title. I expect them to have leadership over themselves, leadership over their peers, their
Mm-hmm.
subordinates, and their superiors. And leadership, for my definition, it also now it's not exclusive to what I'm about to mention.
Mm-hmm.
Neither are the things that I'm about to mention, are they all encompassing? Did I pronounce that
Okay.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, uh, you know, they need to show creativity. They need to have responsibility. They need to have accountability, and they
Mm-hmm.
need to have direction and follow direction. But one of the most important traits that I really look for is initiative, right?
Okay.
So when something happens, if there's no boss around, or
Right.
if there's no supervisor or official leader around, if if there's a question from a customer, if there's let's say a mini crisis,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Do you have the initiative to solve the situation so that you don't harm the company,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't, um, make the customer angry,
Or
right?
yeah, right.
So, these things, and I think you would agree with me, Coach D, when, these things that I mentioned, I think we want that in all of our team members, right? Regardless of the
For sure.
function.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep.
And, the unfortunate thing is, I don't think we teach these things in school,
Yep, definitely. And
right?
it's something that I think, and I believe, Chris, that there's no one size that fits all for development
Of course,
anyway,
yeah.
right? I mean, I think recently I was asked a question, what is the best book on
Mm,
leadership?
mm,
And so of course, there's so many books on leadership. So I asked them, what is leadership to you, right?
mm,
What do you want? What kind of leader do you want to be?
right.
That'll probably help you, narrow down what kind of book you want to read, right?
Mm, yeah. Or the answer could be A is the book that I haven't written yet.
Yeah, yeah, okay. That would be
Yeah.
an answer. It might not be the answer he wants.
Right, right.
you know,
So when we talk about these things, yeah, then the question comes in, where can we learn, and how can we get our team to want to do these things, right? Be
right.
creative, be responsible, have initiative, have accountability, and then have direction, and
Hmm.
have or be in the same direction as the organization. And so I think what it really boils down to is the leader that they're following, right?
Okay. Yep.
And
All right.
everyone on my team, I expect them to be a leader. And for me, that's the definition. Now, when they have the manager title, then they have the extra, the extra things in there. The extra thing would be they have to be able to command the respect, because they cannot expect to get respect just because I say, "Hey, John, you're now the manager of the sales team."
Right.
The respect does not go automatically. In fact, I think one of the things we have to recognize is that maybe there's jealousy, maybe there's the thinking is, how come John got to be the manager when I thought I was going to be, right?
Yeah. Or
So
I was working here longer, right?
right, yeah.
Hmm.
And you brought up something interesting. We'll digress a little bit when we talk about experience. When I talk to college and university grads, or they're going to graduate, right?
Hmm.
They start sending out resumes. This is a little bit of a side. They start sending out resumes, and then they try to apply for jobs, and then sometimes the answer they get is, you know what, we cannot hire you because you don't have experience.
Right.
And then the thought is, how do I get experience if nobody hires me,
Right.
right?
It's like a
So
catch
anyway,
22.
yeah. So anyway, that's a different side. But then we come into this question of, let's say, you're not really the boss. How do you be a leader, even though I said that you're expected to be one, right? So
Hmm.
we always have challenges. I'll start it off this way. We always have challenges. The challenges and the obstacles is like darkness, right?
Hmm.
And a maybe an analogy like this, darkness, the challenges and the obstacles and the stress and all those things that causes the darkness. And with the analogy is, make sure that you're the light in the darkness, or at least one of the lights in the darkness.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
There's another cliche that says, we're so obsessed with loving our job, or following our passion, right?
Hmm. Right.
And not everyone is lucky enough to achieve the loving the job and following the passion.
Right.
A lot of
Right.
a lot of people think that, oh, Chris, you're excited about what you do, and you know what? Honestly, I love my job. I love what I've been doing for the last 22 years, but
Okay.
I didn't get into the job saying I'm going to follow my passion, and this is what I want to do for the next 22 years. I didn't get into that,
Right.
at the very start. I got into it because I was looking for something, that could fulfill, um, that would give me a little bit more freedom,
Hmm.
and would give me, if I work really hard, which I do, which I did and I do, a decent income.
Right.
So um, I remember you had mentioned, okay, you had
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that leadership starts with the why, and everything that I am a proponent of, everything that I support, yeah, the foundation is always why do you want to do this,
Right.
right? So we got to use the why to anchor ourselves. We got to use the why to anchor our team, and to anchor the business. Because if your team doesn't realize the why, and if all you have is the fear of your team, and you tell them to do it, they will do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, but the question is, are they going to do it with full effort,
Right.
and are they going to do it when you're not watching?
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't have the why, everything is wasted, unless we and you and your whole team believes in it. So when we start with the why, Coach D, can you just like refresh us on the why of leadership?
Well, if we look at okay, so back then, I think the first part we
First
did about
session,
the
right?
why. Yeah, we were
Right.
talking about why was it important for a leader, to
Uh
have
huh.
leaders, to be a leader, and that was basically more from a practical perspective, right? But as a leader, our main objective is to set the intention of the company, of the goal of the team. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Okay. So, besides the why, they have to understand why they're there.
Mm.
Right. So, if they're there to set the attention of, let's say, last time we talked about, easing some complex processes within the company to help the company be more faster, more flexible. Right.
Right.
I believe it was also um, uh, to to ease up on unscalable processes, right?
Mhm.
So this they could also like avoid certain things they don't need, unneeded meetings, unneeding approvals and things like that. So as a leader, we need to be able to set an intention of the team per the day, or whatever it has to, how long it lasts, right?
Okay.
You know,
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
right?
That makes sense.
So
Uh.
yeah, and when you mention things like about following because they have to. I think there was one time when I mentioned that, for the first 3 months, they follow you because they have to. After the
Right.
3 months or so, they should want to follow you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, that is the goal, right? That they
right.
want to follow you,
Exactly. Because
right?
if you lead from a position, or you lead from a point, or they follow from a point of, well, I have to, they're not going to give you
Mm.
their all.
I've experienced that when I was a lot younger, a lot younger.
Oh, okay.
I had to follow. I remember I had to follow a manager. I thought he was a dick, and I just hated his guts, and he hated me. And
Okay.
the hatred was mutual.
Mutual.
So yeah, so it was a situation of I wake up, and then I got to get ready to go to work, and then I'm thinking I like the job, and the
Right.
job paid very very decently. When I was about 27, 28, around there. That's
Mm-hmm.
before I started my company. In fact, it was that job that made me start my company in 1998.
Right.
So I was waking up, and then I was going, you know what? I don't feel like going in because I'm gonna have to deal with him, and then I
Mm-hmm.
gotta have tension, and then there's aggravation. I like the job, I like the money,
Mm.
but it was just a very hostile relationship between that gentleman and myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so he'd been there for way way longer, and then everybody was saying, how come he became the manager? Because he's so bad at it.
Right.
And so I decided to remove myself from the equation, and that journey was way more enjoyable. Is ups and downs here and there, but way more enjoyable, right? I think you kind of get that, right?
Well, I think we mentioned it on part three,
Mm.
regarding,
Ah, yes.
yeah, right. People go to work for the company, they go to a company for a job, right? And
Right.
usually leave because of a manager. or the
Right.
leader, right? So in
Yeah.
your case, is exactly what happened,
Right.
right?
You know, the when we talk about managers, we talk about man. You see, a manager is not necessarily a leader, right? They should be. If they don't have the skills, then your manager is not a leader. He's just just a manager, right? And
Okay.
there's certain traits that I think of. Um, I am very direct, so sometimes I'm too direct.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes I'm direct to the point of being rude and brusque.
I always thought you were joking.
Uh, well, I think in the time that we shared together,
Hmm.
since we met, I think you've seen that I'm very direct.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's one of the things that I try to temper,
Hmm.
like temper it down. So, if there are any managers out there, okay, and if you think that you want to command respect and you don't want to command fear, maybe you're commanding in fear right now. One of the things that I suggest that you do is that you tone down your directness. Do not let it border onto rudeness. And then uh, sometimes people think, oh, you know what? I'm a very kind person. If I'm too kind when I'm a manager, yes, be kind, but don't be weak, right? Um, be bold, but don't bully. And then, of course, the one of the traits is, I got two extremes here. One is humble and one is proud, right? Be humble but not timid,
Hmm.
and be proud but not arrogant.
Right.
You know,
Can I add on to that, Chris?
of course.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think if you have, especially if you have, how do you say, new leaders, new managers,
Mm,
right, in a position. I mean, even though they get into position, that doesn't automatically mean that people will follow them,
correct.
right? So
Correct.
again, whether you're new in the company or you just got promoted, people need time to get to know you, right? They gotta
Mm,
they gotta know what you're about. They want to see
mm-hmm.
if you talk the talk and you walk the walk, right?
Mm,
And so new leaders have to understand that they cannot expect new positions to automatically mean you have power over people. Okay,
right.
you still need to be able to communicate and influence.
Right. The one of the first brushes I had with leadership was, as you know, I spent some time in the military.
Hmm.
I was a military officer,
Right.
and one of the things that one of the traits that I had was that I wanted to be liked by my troops,
Okay.
and I would hang out with them, and yes, they liked me, but sometimes, especially when we go on exercises, when we go in the field, instructions, and then that line becomes a little bit blurred. So
Yeah, for sure.
the friendliness level was just a little bit too high,
Hmm.
uh, because in the military, if let's say uh, uh, the captain says attack, you don't go, hey, you know what? I think there might be a better way. If the
Hmm.
captain says charge, you gotta, get up, put on the bayonet, and charge together, right?
Right.
So one of the things that we were taught what I was taught very early on, when I was in the military, is that um, don't question orders, just do, and then
Right.
complain about it later on.
Hmm.
Okay, so in my team, not my military team, but my team now, um, I have goals for them. One of the goals that I want, as far as for leadership, is I want to get everybody to be supervised less. And I
Hmm.
think when I say that, it's not like everybody is hands off, but I think what it really means is, when I explain it to them, is that when we supervise less, what I really mean is that we want to we want to minimize the micromanagement. We don't want someone doing their work here and then the manager is just sitting or standing right over the shoulder watching them like, what are you doing? You
I
know?
have a 2 cents for that too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please go ahead, go ahead. I love to hear the input.
Well, what's the biggest fear people have of you know taking that initiative?
Making mistake.
Right. So I just read a Harvard review where a lot of multi companies are teaching their people to get make mistakes. Okay,
Mm.
I believe there's one CEO said, if you're not making mistakes, we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, like not growing, right?
Right, right. So you're not taking chances. You're not. Of course, you can't. You can't you can't set the company on fire, right? You know what I
Right.
mean? Cause a
Can I
lawsuit, right?
fine tune one thing on
Yes,
what you said?
please.
It's not so much of making if we're not making mistakes, we're not growing, or we're doing something wrong. I think, you see, if we have an SOP, oh, bad
Hmm.
word, if we have a system, right, and if you're making mistakes in the system on established actions,
Right, right.
then that I think is not acceptable, right?
Okay.
Unless you're new and you're trying to implement something that's creative or innovative, and you try,
Let me ask you
then
this.
I think, yeah,
No, no, go ahead. Please finish first.
yeah, then in that case, I think the mistake is not only acceptable but encouraged as well. But if you're making a mistake in something that is caused by recklessness or forgetfulness or
Right,
incompetence or lack of attention to detail,
right,
then then I think that's harder to accept and
right.
forgive.
Irresponsible, right?
Right,
Hmm.
right.
Right. So what I wanted to mention was you mentioned the SOP, and there are times when we talked about complex processes or unscalable
Mm,
steps to take. It's possible sometimes the SOP, has is not effective anymore.
understood. Yeah, I
Right,
agree.
right. So
Yeah,
as the leader, they also have to notice that, they have to pick out and say,
right,
wait a minute, this method doesn't work anymore, right?
right.
And so again, this helps the leader to be able to create better SOPs, right? To create a
Mhm.
smooth process. At the same time, the employee realizes that, okay, this leader is fair. He's got my
Mhm.
back, and he's not going to just blame me for doing things that aren't my fault. He's a fair
Right.
guy, or a fair
Right.
person, let's say, not say guy, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Right? So,
Gender.
yes, yes. So, I mean, those are very things, and these are little nuances as a leader that
Mm.
maybe like new leaders may not notice,
Mhm.
but you know what? The team members do.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
They
Got it.
remember all these things.
Yeah. I fully 100 fully agree with you. So less supervision, make mistakes, but we don't micromanage. Okay.
Right?
Then I think I've shared this before on a prior session. What I want my team to do with me is that I want to lead and give the direction, and
Mm.
I will also, when I ask them to do something, I will do it as well.
Right.
Okay. But I also realize that even though I'm close to it, I'm not perfect. Okay. and so and so when we're trying to grow, when we have innovation, when we have creativity, I want them to do their own research. I want them to get their own experience, and then I want them to come back to me and tell me, hey, you know what, this is what we need to do in order for us to be able to accomplish this. Hey, what do you think if
Hmm.
we tried this in addition, to what we've been doing before? What I'm Like I said, the one of the really key foundations in leadership for me is not only towing the line, but also showing initiative.
Right,
Right?
right, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Chris, the fact that they'll come back to you with new ideas, that
Mhm.
means as a leader, you're approachable already, and they're not willing to get shot down, or they're not afraid to share their opinion, right?
Mm.
You know,
Yep. I think, yeah,
so
I agree.
right, so and for those who feel that, like like you mentioned earlier, you said you're not there yet. I don't think there is a there, you know what I mean, when it
Yeah.
comes down to leadership, right? there's
Yeah.
like there's like there's no goal. It's an ongoing journey,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
It's not perfection. It's excellence and mastery.
Right, right. So it's
Right.
an ongoing, and there's always something new to learn.
Right.
Hmm.
I if I can, I want to share four quick bullet points with everyone
Of course.
on
Yeah.
how,
Yeah.
yeah, on how we can, become better leaders. And it's not taking away from what you shared with us last week. The traits of a leader.
Yeah.
It's four things that we can do that will add a little spice, to the whole mix.
Right.
Number one is don't just focus on yourself. Shift. Uh, as a leader, whether of a team or of yourself, right? Shift the focus away from you. Look at others and look at their needs and look at their abilities,
Mm-hmm.
and then you help them meet their needs and expand their abilities. So a lot of us really like to only think of ourselves. It's very hard to find, even, well, first of all, it's almost impossible to find a truly altruistic person, right?
Mm.
And maybe it's also hard to find minimally altruistic people, right?
Okay.
So my suggestion on that is, expand your comfort zone to include others, and then looking at their needs and abilities, right?
Right.
Very important in business and extremely important as a leader is become a good listener. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to listen when everything is calm and everything's going right, and
Mm. Yep.
revenue's coming in. Everything's firing on all cylinders, and it's easy to listen and say, yeah, da da da, right? But it's much harder to listen when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're
Tell me about it.
facing, yeah, when you're facing personal challenges, when the company or the business, gets hit left and right, you know.
Yeah.
So when you're stressed or triggered, this is very easy to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to say when you're stressed or triggered, take a deep breath, take a deep breath, and if you have to, tell the person come back just a little bit later, but take
Mm.
a deep breath and refocus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
That's some good points. Yeah.
Yeah. Point number three, own your part. Own your part, whether it's good or it's bad. Okay. When things are going right,
Mm-hmm.
when things are going right, when like revenue coming in, everything's going right. It's easy to take credit. It's easy
Right.
to say, "See what I did," right? But when things go wrong, if you take credit for the good, you also have to take ownership of the bad, right?
Correct. Right.
And that's the responsibility of the leader. There,
Mm-hmm.
there's there's been so many times when let's say a customer gets angry because one of my team members either did something or didn't do something. Okay.
Okay.
When I have a conversation with the customer, the first thing I do is, I don't say, hey, you know what, I don't make excuses. I
Mm-hmm.
take responsibility. This happened. I apologize, but I'm going to fix it right now. And then I go back and find out, hey, actually, what actually happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, admitting you're wrong is not a weakness.
Okay.
Um, you have to own your part, be mature about it, apologize, and then move on. And not one of those wishy-washy, like wishy-washy apologies, like, "Oh, I'm sorry you felt that way. I'm sorry what I did made you feel upset." You know,
Uh-huh.
that's a wishy-washy apology. I don't accept that.
Okay.
You
Yep.
know,
All right. Yeah. I
right?
mean, yeah.
Like,
We have a responsibility to our, as a leader, we have responsibility to our team, but we have responsibility to our customers and clients as well.
mm-hmm. Right.
So we have to be accountable for. Nobody said being a leader was easy, brother.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you it's not. I'll tell
Yeah.
you it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like the fact that you are one, whether you were voted in or you decided to take out the responsibility, it's all you, baby.
That's right. You know what?
you know
Uh, it's like there's a movie, Full Metal Jacket.
okay. Yeah.
It's a real old movie.
All right.
Full Metal Jacket. If anyone doesn't know the movie, Google it. Okay, it's about the Vietnam era. Little subconscious thing there, right? Vietnam era, where the draftees are sent to a boot camp to become U.S. Marines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Lee Emery, a real life Marine, played the drill sergeant, and what's that guy's name? I forgot his name.
Mm-hmm.
Vincent D'Onofrio played the
Wow.
one of the
Okay.
recruits. Okay, so one of the rules at the boot camp is there's no outside food, no food in the barracks, right?
Right.
So during a spot check, they found a jelly donut in his
Okay.
foot locker, right? And the
Okay.
jelly donut came from the cafeteria during lunch or dinner or whatever it was. So instead of punishing the Vincent D'Onofrio, the character, everyone else in the platoon was punished with push-ups.
Okay.
And then so Vincent D'Onofrio refused to eat the donut, right? And then so what the drill sergeant said was, you know what? They're being punished for it. You might as well just eat it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Okay.
So yeah. So I guess the point of that is, um, I don't know what was the point, but okay. Here's the point. The point is, the point is, um, if you're facing the crap, take ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Take ownership of it, and don't let other people suffer for your leadership flaws and your mistakes. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Point number 4. Okay, improve your rapport and your persuasion skills. Okay, um,
Mm-hmm.
rapport uh, rapport makes you more likable, more trustable, and more persuasive.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have the right level of rapport, i.e., if you have the right level of trust and likability, you can get people to do what you ask them to do, and they do it willingly, they do it wholeheartedly, they put in 100%, and uh, they will die trying to get it done for you.
Right.
So
Right.
those are the 4 bullet points that I wanted to share.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, whether you're a team of one or you're in a team where you're all peers, that these are the things that you can get yourself to rise above. Okay,
Right.
so as a leader, even if you're by yourself, don't avoid anything. Okay, plan your time, plan your activities, schedule out yourself, help your teammates, help your coworkers. All right. If you're not the boss, don't instruct. Right? Because people don't want to be instructed. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not the boss, don't instruct. What you should do is you should suggest and phrase it as a question.
Right.
Okay. I often do this with clients. Uh, I don't know if I should let out this secret, um, but
That-
instead of you know, I when I want them to do something, when I want them to do something, I try to make it their idea, okay,
right.
or at least make it their decision to say, you know what, we're gonna do this, right? So I don't like, hey, can we do this, or we should do this, all right? Then they'll take it as an instruction, right?
Right.
But I will always start it off with, hey, Coach D, can I make a suggestion?
Of course.
Okay, yeah, that I tell you, 90% of the time that is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
90% of the time is the answer. The other
Right.
10% they will say, "What is it?" Right?
Right.
And then you make the suggestion and you phrase it as a suggestion, and then they'll go, "You know what? That's a good idea. We're going to do that."
Mm-hmm.
Then it makes it seem like you're on the same page.
Right.
Okay? Um, when I dealt with superiors when I was a lot younger, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
when I dealt with superiors when I was a lot younger, I would use that tactic. I would also do this. I would say, Mr. So and so, what do you think if, let's say, the telemarketing team, did this instead of that? And then
Mm-hmm.
I would give subtle reasons why we should do this instead of that, and then
Mm-hmm.
they would say, you know what, that's a great idea, let's do it.
Right.
Okay,
Right. For
so
sure.
when we lead up, we don't instruct. When we lead to peers, we don't instruct.
Mm-hmm.
We phrase it as a suggestion, and we phrase it as a question for them to accept and acknowledge and say, you know what, let's do this together.
Got it. Yep.
In conclusion, on my part, Coach D, I believe it's our dedication, our diligence, our professionalism, that distinguishes us from the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I read this a couple days ago. It's very appropriate. Um, Many will start, a few will finish, and even fewer will finish strong. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and for the leaders, um, I'm going to throw this in for the leaders that look for the future leaders in your organization and fantastic team members in your organization. We spend precious, valuable time and effort to interview and select the very best that we can find,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to hire them into the organization.
Right.
But but we tend not to, or we flat out refuse to listen to them. Okay, we tend not to accept their knowledge, their
Mm-hmm.
innovation, their creativity, and their expertise. And the sad part is, these are the exact things that we hire. I mean, these are the exact reasons why we hired them in the first place, and
That's
we
right,
don't listen
Chris.
to them.
That's right.
Okay.
In fact, Chris, our next webinar will be regarding hiring and looking for good potential. So you hit it right on the nose there.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Am I hireable?
Yes, for sure.
I,
You know,
I don't think so. I
well,
you know what? I'm too set in my ways. I'm too set to be under someone's thumb.
well, like one thing I remember somebody quoting that a leadership makes you feel that they're important. I mean, a manager makes you feel that they're important, whereas a leader
Hmm.
makes you feel important. So I don't
Yes.
think if you had a good leader, I don't think they will make you feel that they're under your
Yeah.
thumb. So it's okay.
Yeah.
You're hireable.
Yeah. I've actually had a few over the years,
Right.
even in the last 5 6 years.
It's
Yeah.
the question would be is like, do you feel he deserves you?
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Is he worthy of me? Right.
Right. Something like that, right? Or you feel
Yeah.
that you respect him enough that you're willing to follow him.
Right. I
Right?
agree. I agree. I know individuals like that. If they offer to bring me into their organization, I would probably put very very serious thought in accepting.
Right, right.
With a caveat that I still have to run my organization. But
Right, right. Because
but
that's your baby. That's
right,
a different ball game. You know what I mean?
right.
You know.
Well, let me ask you this, Koshi. Do you have any final words for this session this evening?
No, for this session, I think we're good. I agree with all you said. I also believe that leadership is not a title, it's not a position, but it's more of a responsibility. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's something for me personally because as a parent, I also want to be able to, you know, I think my our kids are probably the hardest team members to have.
Yeah, I think so.
You know,
Okay. Our own kids are the hardest.
yes, for
Yeah,
sure,
it's
right?
easy to lead other people's kids.
Right. Other
Yeah,
kids are probably more open to listening to you and taking
right.
advice, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically our own kids. So for me, it's more of a responsibility. I have to do it right, you know?
Mm. If
Right.
let's say any potential employer was to ask my kids for a reference, I would probably not get the job.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Right. You know what I mean? They say, well, yeah, no, I wouldn't hire my dad. He's too mean.
Yeah,
He's too whatever,
yeah,
you know?
right, right. Yep,
But yeah. Yep.
yep. Well, having said all that, I think we covered some interesting ground tonight.
For sure.
Uh,
Yep.
so the like I said, the whole question for tonight is, can you be leader? Can you be a leader if you're not a boss or the boss in your organization? So the answer,
I say absolutely.
yeah, absolutely yes. And I
Yep.
think I think that's what we have to strive for.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think that's what everyone has to strive for. Coach Lee, we come to the end of our session for this evening.
Great. Okay.
Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, we have one final session in this series, the leadership discussion series. We have one final session. It's a week from tonight, and the link for you to register, it'll be somewhere in the description, as you're watching this video, either below or on top, whatever, wherever we put it. But it is there. And if you want to join us on a Facebook Live session a week from now, we will be broadcasting it on Facebook Live as well.
Mm,
So I want to wish everyone, today is, we're in over a week into 2021. I'm not going to give you the cliche of, let's make this the best year ever. What I will say is, uh, if we have a good year, or we have a not, if we don't have a good year, depends on a few things. It depends on the skills that you have, the new skills that you have, the kind of dedication and discipline and professionalism that you will display in your responsibilities. You have to keep that up. If you're already doing that, I applaud you and I
mhm,
congratulate you. If you are not doing that, I highly encourage you to start doing that. If you're out of a job, my thoughts go out to you and your family.
mhm,
And if you show these characteristics, everyone goes to the job. They have the resume. They answer the questions the same way. If you're able to express these things, and if you're able to display these things, that might just make a difference between you getting the job and not getting the job.
mhm.
So with that, I want to wish everyone a fantastic evening. Be safe in everything that we're doing from this point on. Wish all of you the best of success. And I want to wish from the bottom of my heart to everyone blessings for all of us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Yes, everybody, have a great week.